Aya Wilson didn't hold back. After Game 2 of the WNBA Finals saw rows of empty seats and tickets selling for as little as $1.50, the Aces star took aim, not at the league, but at Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans. Blaming their absence for the finals' dismal atmosphere, Wilson's comments reflected the frustration bubbling beneath the surface of a league struggling to sustain attention.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
While the WNBA spent the season celebrating record viewership and sold-out arenas, the reality hit hard. Without Clark, the finals couldn't even fill the lower bowl. Wilson's outburst crystallizes a deeper problem: the league's over-reliance on a single player to carry its momentum. Instead of addressing why fans have tuned out, league leadership deflects with press releases and PR spin, while players feel the impact in real time. The disconnect between image and substance has never been more obvious. Blaming Clark might express frustration, but also exposes just how fragile the league's growth really is. Aya Wilson lost her cool, and not because her team lost. Not because of a controversial call, or an injury, or a buzzer-beater heartbreak. No, this meltdown was about empty seats. Following Game 2 of the WNBA Finals, Wilson stunned fans when she publicly turned the blame away from the court and straight at Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans. According to her, they were the reason for the dismal attendance, the half-empty arena, the rock-bottom ticket prices, the lack of energy in what was supposed to be the league's biggest event of the year. She didn't hold back, and neither did the internet, because when Wilson pointed fingers at Clark and her fan base, she unknowingly confirmed what critics had been saying for months. The WNBA's recent rise wasn't a league-wide moment. It was a Caitlin Clark moment, and without her, the spotlight dimmed fast. Let's get to the facts. Game 2 of the finals should have been a milestone, a celebration of the sport's growth. But instead, it turned into a glaring embarrassment. Ticket prices dropped so low, some fans joked it cost more to park than get inside the arena. Social media was flooded with photos showing swaths of empty seats, sarcastic commentary about the league's record-breaking viewership, and memes mocking the finals as the cheapest live sporting event in the country. A finals ticket was cheaper than a combo meal. That's not growth. That's collapse. But instead of acknowledging what was happening, Wilson lashed out. She put the blame on the one person who wasn't even playing the game, Caitlin Clark. And that's when the conversation exploded. Because the truth is, Wilson's frustration didn't come out of nowhere. It came from watching the reality crash into the league's narrative. For months, we were told the WNBA was thriving. That viewership was at an all-time high. That interest was surging. That a new golden era had arrived. But all of that was built around one player. And now that she's not in the finals, the illusion has shattered. Clark was a draw. She was a reason casual fans tuned in. She packed arenas, boosted ratings, sold jerseys, drove headlines. And now, with her sideline and her team out of the picture, the league's biggest stage is struggling to fill the lower bowl. Wilson's attempt to redirect blame only highlighted the problem, because it wasn't just about attendance. It was about the league's inability to hold on to the momentum they claimed to have. Instead of building sustainable interest, creating rivalries, or cultivating authentic storylines, they leaned too hard into PR. Too much branding. Not enough substance. So when Clark left the playoffs, so did the energy. And it shows. There are no compelling rivalries in the finals. No tension. No drama. No viral moments. Just predictable basketball in a half-full building. The players are elite, no doubt. But the product? Flat. And fans have noticed. The drop-off in engagement isn't subtle. It's massive. This isn't just about one disappointing night. It's about a complete failure to capitalize on the attention that Clark brought to the league earlier this season. Her impact wasn't just a nice boost. It was the only thing keeping the league in the mainstream conversation. And instead of using that attention to invest in new narratives, the league assumed the hype would carry itself. It didn't. Now, fans are checking out. Online, they're openly mocking the finals, posting screenshots of ticket resale sites, joking about how you could bring your whole extended family to the game for the price of one Uber ride. And behind all the memes is a real sense of disillusionment. People feel misled. They were told the league was on fire. So why does it look like no one showed up? League leadership, especially Commissioner Kathy Angel-Burt, hasn't helped. She continues to insist the league is in a strong position, despite all visual and statistical evidence to the contrary. That disconnect between what fans see and what officials say is fueling frustration. It's hard to trust leadership when their version of reality looks nothing like what's happening on the ground. This is a league that spent months promoting growth, but when it came time to deliver, they couldn't keep fans engaged. The over-reliance on Clark without a backup plan is now painfully obvious, and Wilson's comments didn't address that failure. They deflected from it. The most concerning part? This isn't just a PR mess. It's a business one. With collective bargaining negotiations on the horizon, players are demanding higher salaries, better benefits, more resources, and they deserve it. But now, owners and broadcasters have an easy argument. Look at the finals. Look at the attendance. Look at the ticket prices. Why should we invest more if the product can't sell itself? Wilson's outburst, intentional or not, gave them ammo. Instead of demanding accountability from league leadership or marketing failures, she blamed the absence of one player. And in doing so, she confirmed what critics feared, that the league has no real strategy for sustaining growth without Clark front and center. The WNBA needed to build storylines. It needed to foster rivalries. It needed to make the finals feel like an event, something fans had to see. But none of that happened. And now, with interest plummeting, prices crashing, and arenas half empty, the consequences are front and center. Fans aren't the problem. They showed up in droves when the league gave them something to care about. But the finals aren't giving them anything. No stakes. No history. No friction. Just more of the same, and less of what made this season exciting in the first place. And blaming Clark's absence only shows how fragile that excitement was. So, where does the league go from here? They have to face reality. That means acknowledging that Clark's impact was real, but temporary without follow-through. That means building genuine, long-term interest, not just buzz. That means investing in the product, the storytelling, the rivalries, and yes, in making sure the most marketable players aren't alienated or sidelined. It also means being honest about the current state of things. Fans aren't asking for perfection. They're asking for authenticity. If the league wants support, it has to stop spinning a narrative that doesn't line up with what people are seeing with their own eyes. Wilson had every right to be frustrated. The finals should have been huge. They should have felt like a culmination. But they don't. And the reason isn't Caitlin Clark. It's a league that failed to deliver a compelling reason to care once she was gone. If anything, Clark's absence exposed cracks. Now it's up to the league to decide whether to patch them up or keep pretending they're not there. So what's your take? Was Aya Wilson justified in blaming Caitlin Clark? Or did she miss the point entirely? Are fans right to feel let down by the finals? Or is this just growing pains of the league? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe, because this conversation is far from over, and the league's future might just depend on who's finally willing to face the truth. Aya Wilson's meltdown wasn't just a moment, it was a spotlight. In the aftermath of her explosive comments blaming Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans for empty arenas and plummeting ticket prices at the WNBA Finals, she didn't just spark debate. She peeled back the layer Gloss the league had been desperately trying to maintain. And now, whether the league wants to admit it or not, the mask is off. This was supposed to be the WNBA's crowning moment. Months of headlines about growth, record-breaking viewership, ticket demand, celebrity endorsements, and the future is now hype had built up to this. The finals, the main event, the culmination of a historic season. And yet, people didn't show up. Seats were empty. Tickets were being sold for $9, lower than a movie ticket, lower than a sandwich, lower than a ride on public transit in some cities. This wasn't just a dip. This was a crash. And what did Aya Wilson do? She pointed at Caitlin Clark and said that's the problem. Except it's not. Blaming the one person who carried the league's popularity for the last 6 months isn't just tone-deaf. It's self-destructive. Wilson's frustration was valid. She's in the finals. She's playing on the biggest stage, and the energy is dead. The arena looks half full. Social media is dragging the league. Critics are calling the finals boring, and tickets are being resold for less than a fast food combo. But putting that on Clark, it exposed just how unprepared the league, and its stars, were for this moment. Let's be honest. Clark's impact on the WNBA wasn't subtle. It was seismic. The Indiana Fever, one of the least relevant teams in recent memory, suddenly became must-watch TV. Every game she played was packed. Every road trip sold out. She moved merchandise, boosted viewership, filled arenas, and had people who never watched women's basketball talking about it every week. So when the playoffs rolled around and the Fever were out, the momentum went with them. And it didn't help that Clark was sidelined by months of hostility, officiating inconsistencies, media narratives framing her as divisive, and a league that seemed more interested in controlling her than supporting her. When the WNBA needed to protect its most valuable asset, it chose to posture instead. And now, here we are, with a final series no one's watching, and players like Wilson lashing out at the very person who brought the fans in to begin with. The irony is brutal. Instead of holding the league accountable for failing to capitalize on Clark's presence, failing to build storylines, foster rivalries, or create must-see moments, Wilson pointed fingers at the only player who delivered all of that during the regular season. Instead of asking why the league's own promotional efforts fell flat, or why finals games felt like regular season slogs with no stakes, she went after the one person who wasn't even in the building. But the truth is clear. Without Clark, the league doesn't have a backup plan. It became obvious the moment the Fever were eliminated. The energy dipped. The coverage dipped. And despite the league's insistence that everything was fine, social media told a different story. Clips of empty rows. Tweets clowning the low ticket prices. People openly asking why this finals felt like preseason. That's not Caitlin Clark's fault. That's on the league. They had months to prepare for this. Months to take the attention Clark brought and use it to elevate everyone. But they didn't. They leaned on one narrative. The league is more than one player. But they never actually showed that. They didn't build rivalries. They didn't elevate other personalities. They didn't create tension or storylines or stakes. And now, the league's big moment is collapsing under its own lack of preparation. Wilson may feel like she's defending her team, defending her league, but her comments did more damage than any meme or criticism from fans ever could. Because she didn't just blame Clark, she blamed the fans. She essentially told Fever supporters, "You're not here, and that's why this finals is a flop." As if it's the fans' job to show up no matter what. As if it's their responsibility to make up for the league's failure, to create something compelling. But fans don't owe blind loyalty. They want a reason to care. And the finals gave them nothing. There's no rivalry between these teams. There's no bad blood, no drama, no iconic performances, no buzzer beaters, no tension, just games. And as good as the players are, and they are good, that's not enough. Because sports at their core are stories. And the WNBA didn't tell one. Clark did. Whether it was fair or not, whether it was criticism or praise, she created conversation. She brought people into the league who'd never watched before. She made games feel important, even when her team was losing. That's what drives engagement. That's what creates value. And that's what's missing now. The WNBA's leadership keeps insisting the league is stronger than ever, but the receipts say otherwise. You don't get $9 finals tickets if demand is high. You don't have a half-empty arena if interest is growing. You don't trend online for your games unless it's fans mocking how easy it is to get in. That's not hate. That's reality. And that reality is going to hit hard when the next round of CBA negotiations come around. Because while players are asking for more, rightfully so, owners and broadcasters are going to point to this finals as a counterargument. They'll say, where's the demand? Where's the proof that the product can carry itself? And what will the league say then? If they had used Clark's moment correctly, this wouldn't be happening. But they didn't, and now they're exposed. Wilson's meltdown, intentional or not, is a symptom of that. She's watching her finals experience fall flat. She's hearing the silence. And instead of looking inward, at the league's choices, at the missed opportunities, she lashed out at the easiest target, the player with the biggest shadow. But here's the thing. That shadow exists because no one else stepped up to create one of their own. This finals was supposed to be the league's chance to prove it wasn't just a Caitlin Clark show, that there were stars everywhere, that fans had more than one reason to tune in. But when she was gone, everything went quiet. So the question now is simple. What does the WNBA do from here? Does it keep doubling down on narratives that don't match the evidence? Does it keep ignoring fan sentiment, media backlash, and social media reality? Or does it finally admit that without Clark, they lost momentum, and it's on them to get it back? It starts by listening. Not just the voices in boardrooms, but the fans, players, critics, everyone. It starts by investing in stories, matchups, rivalries, not just slogans. It starts by accepting that you can't grow a league on image alone. You need substance. You need consistency. You need stars, and not just one. Aya Wilson is a great player. But blaming Clark for a finals nobody's watching doesn't make her look like a leader. It makes her look like she's deflecting from the league's deeper failures. Clark isn't the reason fans didn't show up. She's the reason they ever did. Aya Wilson's post-game meltdown didn't just raise eyebrows. It cracked the foundation of the league's current narrative. She said what some players have been thinking, but wouldn't say publicly. And in doing so, she made one thing painfully obvious. The WNBA is facing a reality check. A big one. When Wilson blamed Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans for the finals' dismal turnout, she didn't just start a controversy. She exposed the league's deepest insecurity. That behind all the PR spin, the big talk about growth, the high-profile endorsements, and the flashy headlines, there's still a very real problem. People aren't showing up. The stands aren't packed. The finals don't feel like an event. The interest just isn't there. And Wilson, whether she meant to or not, dragged that uncomfortable truth into the open. Her frustration? Understandable. She's competing for a championship in an arena that looks like a regular season warm-up. That's not just embarrassing, it's deflating. You work your whole career for a moment like this, and then silence. Rows of empty seats. A lack of buzz. The league's biggest stage feeling more like a dress rehearsal. But the way she responded, by calling out Caitlin Clark, the one player who drove more attention to the league in one season than the past decade combined, completely missed the mark. Clark's not the reason the finals are flopping. Clark's the reason the league ever had momentum in the first place. The uncomfortable truth? The league built this moment on a shaky foundation. They rode the wave of Clark's popularity without building anything underneath it. No storylines. No rivalries. No consistent engagement strategy. Just 6 months of look at these numbers, while ignoring that it was all being propped up by one rookie in Indiana. And now that she's out of the picture, it's all crashing down. The finals are the most visible part of that collapse. There are no sold-out crowds, no national buzz, no viral plays or must-see moments. Just standard basketball in front of a mostly empty arena and a growing list of fans who are tuning out. Ticket prices are in free fall. The optics are brutal. Screenshots of resale listings showing $8 finals tickets have been shared thousands of times online. And not ironically, this isn't accessibility. This is desperation. This is supply drastically outweighing demand. And the league's leadership? Nowhere to be found. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert continues to spin the same message. Record-breaking interest, unprecedented growth, year of momentum. But none of it matches what fans are seeing. None of it explains why the league's most important games can't fill seats. There's a growing gap between what the league says and what fans see. And that gap, it's where trust erodes. It's also where players like Wilson, frustrated and exhausted, lash out. But let's be clear, blaming Clark is not leadership. It's deflection. Because if you're in the finals and the building is half full, the question shouldn't be, why didn't Caitlin Clark's fans show up? The question should be, why didn't anyone show up? Where are the Aces fans? Where are the diehards? Where's the league's promotional machine? This isn't about one fan base. This is about the entire league failing to make the finals feel like something people can't miss. And that's not Clark's responsibility. That's on the league. That's on marketing. That's on the media. That's on the teams. That's on the leadership that had months to capitalize on unprecedented visibility and didn't. Clark gave them the platform. What they did with it, nothing. There was no strategy to keep fans invested after her season ended. No narrative build-up to the finals. No coverage that created excitement. No attempt to turn other players into breakout stars. And that's the core problem. The WNBA didn't learn how to share the spotlight. So when Clark left it, there was no one else ready to step in. Now, they're trying to retroactively shift blame. But fans aren't dumb. They watched the league struggle to figure out how to handle Clark from the beginning. The inconsistent officiating, the cheap shots, the media narratives pitting her against veteran players, the uncomfortable silence from leadership when she was targeted, the attempts to downplay her success instead of using it as a springboard. And now that she's gone, there's no energy, no electricity, because Clark brought that, like it or not. This final series, no matter who's playing, should have been the WNBA's moment to prove they didn't need her to stay relevant. Instead, they've proven the opposite. Aya Wilson's decision to publicly call out Clark and her fans wasn't just a bad look. It was confirmation that even the league's top players are feeling the pressure. She's not the villain in this story. She's just misdirected her anger. Because the real villain is complacency. The league coasted. They let the headlines do the work. They assumed Clark's popularity would carry over automatically. They forgot that fan engagement doesn't last unless you give people something to stay for. And the finals, so far, haven't done that. No drama. No stakes. No buzz. That's not Clark's fault. That's structural failure. And unless the league recognizes that, this won't be the last meltdown. Because the truth is, a sport can't survive on one star. It needs many. It needs storylines. It needs rivalries. It needs urgency. Right now, the WNBA has none of that. And if they keep blaming fans, or worse, blaming the one player who made fans care in the first place, they'll be left wondering why, season after season, no one shows up. So what do you think? Was Aya Wilson justified in her frustration, or did she aim in the wrong direction? Has the WNBA Finals exposed deeper problems in the league's growth strategy? Drop your take in the comments, and hit that subscribe button for more unfiltered coverage of the real stories behind the headlines. Because when the hype fades, the truth is what's left, and this Finals, it's saying a lot without saying anything at all.